3 things Steelers got to do on defense. If you want to drop your keys to this victory in the chat, go for it. I'll read them off before I sign off. First, offense just needs to keep doing what they're doing, and that's running the rock, because the Bills, it's well documented, they play a nickel defense pretty much exclusively. What does that mean? They have an extra defensive back out there as opposed to having an extra linebacker, which could make your defense susceptible to the run. And the Bills D-line, if you look at the personnel that they got and how they're set up, they're built a little bit more for the pass rush and getting after the quarterback as opposed to stopping the run. They have a little bit more of that finesse to them, which is why they are 28th in the league in yards per carry given up. And they rank around mid-tier, around average, and all the other run defense stats like yards given up and touchdowns. So you can run on this Bills defense. And what have the Steelers been doing really good over these last, I'd even say just second half of the season. We could talk about our winning streak. We're going 3-0. We've been running the ball good. But I think we've been running it kind of decent just second half of the season in general. Plays into our hand then. Just keep running the rock. Give the ball to Najee Harris. Give the ball to Jaylen Warren. But we also need, and here's my second point for the offense, Mason Rudolph to keep playing like Mason Rudolph has. And he's been versatile in how he's played. Like, he knows what he got to do, given the circumstances or given the specific game. In the Cincy game, in the Seattle game, opportunities were there for him to sling it out. And specifically in the Seattle game, with how our defense was giving up points to Geno Smith in that Seattle offense, Mason needed to be a little bit more aggressive. So in those 2 games, like, he took shots down the field. He was slinging it out a little bit more, getting some more like middle of the field passes or mid-tier throws in there. Whereas the Baltimore game, we were playing in a monsoon against the Ravens defense, and the focus was not to turn the ball over and try to be conservative, make the other team make the mistake, and then take your shots when needed, but not as aggressive or not as numerous in those shots as we were in the Cincy game or the Seattle game. I feel like Mason in this one, you look at these weather reports with the wind, man. Remember the Bills-Patriots game like 2 years ago with Mac Jones, where he only threw 2 passes and New England won 14-10? That was up in Buffalo. The wind conditions for this game are actually supposed to be worse than that one. 25-mile-per-hour sustained winds, 52-mile-per-hour gusts. It's going to be 23 degrees, feels like 7 degrees, and some light snow. In that Patriots game, it was around the same sustained winds mile per hour, but the gusts weren't as high. So Mason might be looking more like Baltimore Mason, Week 18 Mason of, all right, we might need to do some checkdowns. We might need to keep some of these passes closer to the line of scrimmage and let guys like a Deontay Johnson or a Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris do work, break tackles, and get yards the hard way, honestly. Because if this is going to be one of those games with the wind, you're just going to have to play that way. Probably. Like, you can't be chucking it up down the field all the time. Not saying that you're going to be getting interceptions, but the wind's going to be taking the ball what direction, and it could possibly just be a wasted play. But I have the utmost faith. It's crazy I'm saying I have the utmost faith that Mason can replicate at least what he did last week. At least. Like, that was probably... It was a good game by Mason last week. It was a good game. But that was probably the least impressive game of the 3 we've seen from him this year. The least impressive. But it still was a good game. He did what we needed him to do to get out of that stadium. Considering conditions and all that, it was still a really good game. I liked what I saw from him. I was impressed, but it was the least impressed I was, if that makes sense. But he could at least do that. He could replicate that this game. I'd like to think. And then last thing for the offense, no turnovers. Don't turn the ball over. We have to have less than 2 turnovers, like no more than 1. And that's going to give us a good opportunity to win this game. And we've been doing that as an offense outside of last week, but that was Jaylen Warren fumbling it, Mason Rudolph fumbling it a little bit, fumbling the snap. But that was, A lot to do with the rain, I think. A lot to do with the rain. Now, conditions obviously aren't going to be optimal in this one either, but in terms of ball security, it should be easier up in Buffalo as opposed to what we just dealt with in Baltimore. Now, defense, contain. Twofold. Contain Josh Allen in the pocket. Be disciplined, because when he gets outside the pocket, that's when big plays happen, whether it's with his legs or through the air, because you can only cover receivers for so long, right? Josh Allen escapes the pocket. And also, like, as a defender, sometimes you got to choose between, all right, do I step up and try to tackle Josh Allen, or do I stay on my guy? It's tough, but you got to keep a contain on him. You got to stay disciplined, and you won't have to worry about that type of stuff. But also contain the top of the defense. Don't give up any big plays. Keep a lid on it. And that's another thing we've been doing well in our little winning streak here. We've been playing this cover 3 defense. We've been making offenses have to execute all the way down the field. And that will play perfectly into our hand this game. I think it's a perfect strategy, because my next point on defense is, let's get the ball. Let's get some turnovers. Let's make the Bills continue to move the chains, get first downs, and put as many plays, put as many snaps out there on the field as possible, because at some point, Josh Allen's going to turn the ball over. He does that a lot. Now, it's one of those things where, is he going to be smart for this game and just be like, you know what, this is the playoffs. Like, I really got to stay focused here. I got to have this more conservative mentality. He could do that. I guess anyone could do it on the flip of a switch, but his track record is not that. He's going to give the defense opportunities, and we got to take advantage of it, because if we get a couple turnovers and we can keep the ball clean on offense, bro, that's the formula for success right there. That's the formula. Bills have 28 turnovers this year. That's 9th worst in the NFL. And a lot of it does have to do with Josh Allen. We know he's an incredible player. He has incredible gifts. He's incredible talent. But at the same time, you saw last week on Sunday Night Football, had 3 turnovers, 3 bad turnovers too, 3 really bad turnovers. But that parlays into my next point. As much as we want the Bills offense to continue to have to execute, right? Have long drives, not give up the big play. When we get the ball on offense, we want to keep the Bills offense off the field so they don't get in a rhythm where they can, get a drive going, get a series going, right? You don't want to give up the big play. You want to make the Bills execute and consistently, like, have to snap the ball and, like, okay, we got a 3rd down here. Get that. All right, we got that. Now we got a whole nother sheet. You know what I mean? You got to keep them on their P's and Q's when they do have the ball, but we also don't want them to have the ball in general. You get what I'm saying here? Does that all make sense? We don't want them to get the ball. We don't want them to get in a rhythm. So the defense, the Steelers defense, weirdly enough, is going to have to rely on the Steelers offense to keep Josh Allen off the field. Like, we need to sustain drives on offense. Like, that's going to be a big part to our defense and keeping the Bills offense off rhythm. And we've been able to do that. So that's my keys for the game right there, both offensively and defensively. What do you guys have to say? I even got some, like, keys for the matchup too. I'll go over there. Not keys for the matchup. I'm sorry. Key matchups, like players versus players. JPJ versus Stephon Diggs. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Pat P versus Josh Allen. You got the savvy vets, the savvy defensive back vets, ball hawk type of guys against a quarterback that's turnover prone. Our linebackers against James Cook. James Cook's a speedier back. How our linebackers going to match up? We get Casey back. Do we throw a safety on him when it's passing downs? Pickens and Deontay versus whatever corners they have out there. Rasul Douglas is banged up. And they don't have much after him. They don't. It's a combo of Dane Jackson, Cam Lewis, and Christian Benford. I like Pickens and Deontay's chances, but the problem is we got these wind conditions. So how much are we really going to be throwing the ball down the field and taking advantage of that? But also that plays into the Bills passing game too. Like, it's going to be harder for them to take deep shots. So that plays into our defense's favor. It's just going to be a good game all around when you look at it. The back and forth and how these teams play. I like our chances, man. I think the 10 points is a disrespect when you're talking about the line. I'm going with us, man. I think we win. I'll give my score prediction. I think we win. I don't know why 17-13 is coming to mind right now. I think we get out of there 17-13. I think the wind is going to have an effect on the score, but it's going to play into our favor because we've been running the ball really good. I think we're built for this. I think we can replicate what Cincy did against the Bills last year. You remember that? And it was in the snow. Conditions weren't good there either. But it wasn't Burrow lighting them up. It was them handing the ball off to Mixon and imposing their will on the Bills' defense. I think we can do something similar here, for sure. I'll read a few more comments, and I will get up out of here. And I'll see you guys Sunday for the postgame. We'll talk about that after. Steeler fan 532 says, Isaac Sayamalu, hell of a pickup. Yes, it was. Trace 11. I would like to see Pickens motion more to get him some more touches. Maybe we do that. And maybe that's for like some shorter routes in this game. Drag routes, a zig route, out route, slant over the middle. Just to get him the ball. Just to get the ball in playmakers' hands. Now, if you look back on this Ravens game, they were doubling Pickens the whole time. I don't know if the Bills are going to do that. So that might dictate how much we get Pickens the ball and what we do with him. Aiden says, I honestly have a gut feeling that GP is going to have another crazy game. Go Steeler Nation. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, maybe we'll do a little bit of what Trace 11 said there and motion them and try to feature them, get them in space, move them around, that type of stuff. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Appreciate you for stopping through. This was a good time. I got us 17-13. I got us getting the dub, and we're going to be advancing on to Baltimore next week. Looking forward to it. But stay chilling. Peace.